Hi, I'm the Rick in Rick Turns. And for today's project, I'm going to be making a bowl or hollow object depth gauge. Real simple tool, and you all may already have one. Just a rod that slides inside of a cross piece and you can tighten it down and hold it in one place. However, I've got a new lathe. It has a much larger swing on it. My old depth gauge doesn't have quite the length that I need for some larger bowls that I'll be turning. So I'm going to make a new one, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to make it out of a little bit better quality wood. This is a piece of bubinga I bought, and this is fairly nice looking black anodized thumbscrew going into a brass threaded insert, and a piece of stainless steel here to be the depth rod. So let's go over to the lathe and we'll take a closer look at bowl depth gauges. Well, let's take a look at how we normally do depth finding with bowls. This bowl has been roughed out. It's also actually pretty dry and has warped some, but it'll serve for these purposes. Probably the simplest means of finding the depth of your bowl, and I'm sure you've all done this once or twice. You stick your turning tool in there, you line up the top and the bottom edge in your eyesight, just peering right along it, and then run your thumb down until it matches the two edges. So there's the depth of your bowl right there. Then you just lay it on top, put your thumb on the approximate edge, and so here's how deep it is. Another way of doing it is not to find the depth at all, but to set it beforehand, and that's to make yourself a little tool like this, which is a drill bit just mounted in a handle that you turn. Pretty cheap little tool that you can make. Before you ever start turning, while your wood is still a nice big slab that's fairly even, you set your desired depth. So for this one, it would probably be around about there. And then on your blank, which of course is solid right here, you just drill it in until your thumb touches the wood. And that's going to be the depth that you want to turn to. Cut down to that point and you've got it set. So that's a pretty good way of doing it. Now, the tool I normally use is just a real simple one like this. And as you can see, it's just got a depth arm here that moves in and out, and it's got a nut there that I can tighten just to temporarily hold the depth arm in place. It's got a long cross arm. You put the cross arm right across the bowl, loosen the nut, push the depth arm in until it bottoms out. Then you pick it up, put one arm right along here, and this shows you the depth right there. So that's really simple and easy to use. There's a variation on this in which we can use a laser pointer like this right here. Now, this is pretty much the same thing. It's got the depth arm right here, and you just push it in until the depth arm touches the bottom of the bowl, and then you turn on the laser pointer and it's going to put a dot right there, show you where the bottom of the bowl is. Before you start using it, usually each time you turn a bowl maybe, you would just calibrate it and just turn the laser on and make sure that it's just brushing the top of the depth arm right here. So this is pretty nice actually. I don't ever use it because I got tired of replacing the batteries in the laser pointer. Laser pointers are pretty inexpensive, $5 or $6 in different colors. Maybe if I spent more on one, I could get one that didn't go through batteries as fast. But it does work pretty well, and it's easy to make.
There are some other options you might want to consider. Several hollowing tools have depth gauges, either manual or lasers built into them. There's also several other depth gauges that you can find out on the internet and plans for making those. There's a few that you can buy commercially, I believe.
And what I've got here is a piece of 2x2 by 20 inch bubinga. I'm going to cut that down to a 1-inch thickness. The next piece I need is the depth arm. And I've got a piece of 5/16 inch stainless steel rod here that I bought years ago. The other thing you're going to need here, right through the middle, we're going to drill a hole, and that's where the depth arm is going to ride, just like that. The other thing we're going to need is some way of tightening down and holding that depth arm in place. So for that, I'm going to use a threaded insert. This is a brass threaded insert, and a thumb screw. This is a 1/4 by 20 threaded insert, meaning that the inside of the insert is threaded 1/4 by 20. The thumb screw is also 1/4 by 20. It's really lucky it worked out that way, isn't it? Otherwise, I'd really be having a problem. I'm also going to use a piece of water supply line. This is a chrome-plated copper water supply line, 3/8 inch outside diameter. The inside diameter is a little bit larger than 5/16, and that's actually kind of convenient for me because my 5/16 inch rod, once I get the burrs off the edge, is going to slide real nice through about 1 inch of this. So the piece of the hole that I drill all the way through here is going to get a piece of pipe going right through there, and that will just make the depth arm slide back and forth a little bit easier. Finally, another kind of nice to have but not a super requirement is some pegs. These are going to be mostly decorative. These are some 1/4 inch pegs. All along here I'll be making marks at 1 inch intervals, and in each one of those marks I'm going to put a little peg, contrasting wood, so that it will show up nicely. So I'll have a very rough ruler on here, and when I put it up against the bowl I can say, oh yeah, that's about 19 inches. So that's about all there is to it. I'm going to go to the table saw first. I don't want something this big, this thick and heavy. I'm going to cut it down to 1 inch. I'm going to leave it 2 inches high, but I'm going to then cut in just a little curvature like this. And the primary reason for that, get rid of some of the weight and make it look cool. All right, I've got a little piece of cardboard here I'm just going to hold in place and draw a little bit of a curve here, ending up down here. And a curve that goes like that. Give me a 3 inch flat spot up here. All right, so I'm going to cut this out and then I can trace that on both sides. All right, here's the piece where I've drawn both profiles on each side. And I'm going to cut that profile on each side right there. I've got the cross arm marked for the hole that the depth arm will go through. I'm drilling a hole that's 3/8 of an inch in diameter, and it's going all the way through the cross arm. Now, to keep the Forstner bit from getting stuck in the hole, I'm pulling the bit up fairly frequently. As you can see here, it still wants to get stuck in the hole. Here is the brass insert. What I want to do is just measure between the threads. And that is between the threads. So that is just a hair less than 3/8 of an inch. I've got a center line right here.
Now I need to cut the drill arm down to length.
So I'm going to cut it right there at 12 inches. And this is the rough edge. I'm just going to put a small bevel on there, get the burrs off.
Now I'm going to cut the sleeve for the depth arm that will slide inside. This is from a piece of water supply line.
Just going to cut this end off nice and square with a tubing cutter. What I'm going to need here is roughly that much. This works so much better than a hacksaw. Now, put that in there. I'm just going to tap it, I hope, in place. And there we have it. As you can see, now we have a solid hole in there again. But we are going to want a thumb screw to go through there. I've got a 1/4 inch Forstner bit in here. Okay, I've got all my 1-inch marks all along here. There we have it.
The holes for all the pegs are done. Now to glue in the pegs, I'm just using plain old wood glue. I put some inside the hole, and then I tap the peg down with just a small tack hammer. Tap, 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 tap. As you can see, I lost the audio.
Glue is set up fine now, so I'm ready to smooth these down. So here's the threaded insert. The only tricky thing about this is making sure you get it started perpendicular to the surface, because it is easy to get it going crooked. Alright, seem to be going in okay. Alright, I got the threaded insert in there. I've gone back over to the disc sander there and basically ground the brass down to be flush with the surface. This is one of my thumb screws, 1/4 by 20, just like the bolt that I just put in there. You can see it goes in there nicely. Let's see, let's put this in. The depth arm is going through there. Okay. Tighten down the thumb screw, and it's solid. Excellent.
I've done some more sanding on the cross arm, and I put on 4 coats of finish.
Well, the finish is fully set up here, and so I'm just going to put in the depth piece, the thumb screw, alright, and there we have it. That turned out fairly nice. The Bubinga is beautiful wood. I put the dots along here at 1-inch intervals, as you can see. Decided not to put any on the back. Typically when I'm using it, I'm holding it like this, and the thumb screw is facing me. So that'll work out pretty well. Okay, here we are at the lathe. Loosen up the depth arm. Position it so that the depth arm goes right into the middle of the bowl and tighten down the thumb screw. And we got it. There's where the bottom is, right there. Makes a very nice little depth gauge here because it's really very attractive. Compared to what I've been using, it's definitely a classier depth gauge than this one, although it's not really that much more functional. I do put that right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pegs. So I'm 14 inches. This bowl is 14 inches wide. That's kind of handy. Anyway, I'm very pleased with how this turned out. So see you next video.